All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie DeFonso. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Financial Aid. I'm joined by my colleague. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Katie Brett. I'm an Assistant Director of Undergraduate Financial Aid.
And we've got a couple of our colleagues in the background who will be monitoring the Q&A. Chat is disabled for this webinar, so please put any questions that you might have in the Q&A. And our colleagues will help us out. So we just want to start off today by talking a little bit about financial aid and you. Who do you contact? When do you contact them? How do you contact them? What resources are available to you? So the first thing we'll talk about is our personal financial aid counselor model. So just like you have a personal librarian, everyone is assigned a personal financial aid counselor in our office. If you know who your counselor is, I would encourage you to reach out and meet with them if you haven't already. If you don't know who your counselor is, you can go to our contact us page on the financial aid website and click meet the team, and you can see a little bit about each of the members of our staff, their names, a little bit of personal information, how long we've been working here, and the things that little tidbits about each of us. You can also email our office, undergrad.fa@yale.edu, and you can schedule an appointment directly with your personal financial aid counselor. So you can do that from the Contact Us page. One caveat that I will put out there is if you are trying to schedule an appointment with your personal financial aid counselor and you don't see a time that works for you, I would highly encourage you to reach out to us at undergrad.fa@yale.edu. And just let us know that you're looking to schedule an appointment, that your counselor doesn't have any availability. Most of our staff will work with you, all of my staff, I apologize. All of the staff will work with you to either schedule a time kind of outside of their normal available appointments, or we'll be able to put you in touch with someone else in the office who may be able to assist you with whatever questions you have. We are located at 246 Church Street on the first floor. So if you don't know where that is, if you know where Brugger's Bagel and Willoughby's, that corner, we are basically right behind Willoughby's. So feel free to stop by. We do allow walk-ins. We're here from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Just went through a renovation of our lobby area. So we've got a beautiful, freshly refurbished lobby. And we've got staff available to point you in the right direction, to put you in touch with someone in the office. They can also answer general questions, or they can help you make an appointment if your counselor, for example, isn't available. And then our phone number here, if you want to give us a call, there is a phone tree. Please listen to the phone tree. You either have to press 1 or press 2, depending on who you want to talk to, student accounts or financial aid. So you can give us a call anytime you have questions, but our preferred method of contact is our email, and we have all of our staff are checking the email on a daily basis and responding to inquiries as they come in. All right, so Katie and I did another presentation this morning actually to some high school guidance counselors who have been flown in to learn a little bit about admission and financial aid at selective institutions. And we basically covered some of this exact same information. So we just want to talk about what expenses are considered when we're reviewing your eligibility for financial aid. So we talk about the cost of attendance, and the cost of attendance is really what is it supposed to cost to go to Yale for 1 year? And that includes both billed and unbilled expenses, or some places, some of us may call them direct or indirect expenses. So billed expenses are your tuition and your student activity fee, and then housing and food. The non-billed, unbilled, or indirect expenses are estimates of what we expect it may cost for books, course materials, supplies, and equipment, personal expenses, and then travel. This is actually a screenshot from a student's financial aid letter, and you can see their travel expenses are $200, which means this is a student who lives in Connecticut. The travel expenses are an estimate based on 2 round trips, one to come to Yale in the fall, go home at the end of the fall, return to Yale for the spring, go home at the end of the spring. So it is 2 round trip tickets. Things that are not included, for example, anything more than 2 round trips. If you want to go home for fall break or for Thanksgiving, those are not expenses that are covered by financial aid. If you have higher personal expenses because of choices that you have made about the way that you spend money, that is not something that is included. These are basic expenses like you need to buy shampoo, you need to buy toothpaste, you need, toiletries that need to be purchased for students who are living away from home, typically living on campus or living in the New Haven area. All right, so a little bit about refunds and budgeting. So this webinar was targeted to our high need students, meaning students who have a parent share under a certain amount. So we want to talk a little bit about the fact that for many of you who may be on this call or who may be on this webinar, you may have been eligible or may be eligible for a refund. And we want to talk a little bit about how you know if you have a refund, how you request that refund, what you should be using that refund for, and then how you can make those dollars last. So in order to find out if you have a refund available, you would go to Yale Pay. Oh, did we skip a slide? All right, there we go. So you would go to Yale Pay and you would see on your account summary here, your account balance is the outstanding balance that is currently due. And then the anticipated aid is what we expect will pay in financial aid. And then it'll tell you what your balance due is. So you can see here that there is no balance due on this student's account because the financial aid that is coming in will cover the outstanding account balance. In this case, this student will be eligible. If you kind of drill down in Yale Pay to the term, you can see up at the top, it says fall 2024, and it has negative $3,238. So if you drill down into the fall, you can see all of the charges, all the financial aid or payments that have already been made, and then what the anticipated outstanding financial aid is. One important note, this shows that the student will be eligible for a refund of $3,238, but they are not yet eligible for that refund because the scholarships have not all come in. So student accounts cannot release a refund to a student if the money has not already been received by Yale. And that's an important note for students, especially who have outside scholarships. We can't give you the money if the scholarship agency hasn't given it to us yet. So the way that you know is when you see this negative balance here and all of your financial aid is in the payments and credits section, not in the anticipated aid section, that is when you know you're eligible for a refund and you can request that refund. To request the refund, you go to the student accounts website and request a refund. There's a request a refund section on their website. All right. And then in terms of budgeting, Katie, do we have the specifics in this presentation on the budgeting section, the budgeting session that's happening next week?
We do not, but it is available through, if you're interested, Poorview Learning Center. It would be on Yale Connect. I do believe it's happening next week. If you attended FSY, it will be a similar session to that.
Great, thank you. So one of the things we always like to touch on is what happens if circumstances change. So you applied for financial aid last fall, or maybe this past spring. Maybe you finished your application over the summer. So we have some idea of what your family's circumstances looked like, but that isn't always necessarily reflective of what your family's circumstances look like right now. So we do have a process. We refer to it as an appeal process or a request for review process. We always want students to start by having a conversation with your personal financial aid counselor. So meet with your personal financial aid counselor, give them a little bit of information about your circumstances or how your circumstances have changed. And they will have an honest conversation with you about whether or not you're eligible for an appeal. If you already have a 0 parent share and a parent loses a job, if you already have a 0 parent share, We can't go any lower than 0. So in those instances, even though your family circumstances have changed, excuse me, there may not actually be an appealable circumstance. There may not be anything that an appeal would do to result in a change to your financial aid eligibility. Your personal financial aid counselor will know what those circumstances are and will be able to talk to you maybe about funding options, maybe able to talk to you about financing options or loan options, but they'll be able to let you know whether or not an appeal would likely result in any change in eligibility or whether an appeal would not result in a change. If you meet with your personal financial aid counselor and they indicate that you are eligible for an appeal and should submit an appeal, they will point you to where the form is located so that you can download the request for review form, and then you will submit that back to our office through an online upload tool that is secure, and we'll ask for some supporting documentation with that. And the supporting documentation is completely dependent upon the circumstances of your appeal. So if your family is outlining significant medical expenses, for example, we may ask for documentation of those medical expenses. If it has to do with a job change or a job loss or an income loss, we may ask for more recent tax information. We may ask for a severance letter from your parent's employer. So we can't prescribe on this presentation or on this slide exactly what that documentation would be. But again, that's why we want you to meet with your personal financial aid counselor, because they can talk you through exactly what documentation we need. And then we have a financial aid committee. So every week during the academic year, all of my assistant directors, senior assistant directors, associate directors, and I meet, and our committee reviews on a case-by-case basis every appeal that comes in. And we talk about the family circumstances, what has changed, and we are tasked with determining how these changes may impact a student's eligibility for need-based financial aid. Typically, those results are received by families within 2 weeks. The caveat being, depending on the time of year, if we see a volume increase in our appeals, it may result in some extended response times, but we are in touch with families when that is the case. During the month of April, for example, our committee meets every single day as we're reviewing the appeals that are coming in from prospective students. But during that time, we often don't have a lot of time to review continuing student appeals because of the volume of appeals that are coming in. So that's just a little bit of information about the appeal process, but it's important to note that when your circumstances change, or when your family circumstances have changed, we need you to contact us and let us know about that, because we can't help you if we don't know your circumstances have changed. All right, so we already walked through those, and now I'm going to pass it over to Katie, who's going to talk a bit about safety net.
Yes, hi everyone again. So safety net is, some of you may have heard of it. It is a program designed to help our highest needs students. And it is supported completely by endowed funds, specifically to support the high need students. And a high need student, for the purpose of safety net, is defined as a student with a parent share of $10,000 or less. However, some grants are only available to the 0 parent share students, or an independent or Eli Whitney student with a student share of $10,000 or less. Again, the caveat being that some grants are only available to students with a standard student share. Safety net is designed specifically for unexpected and emergency expenses that a student may incur. This is not, oh, I blew my budget sort of thing. These are all of those situations that we hope none of our students will ever experience during their time at Yale, but life happens and sometimes they do. So that could be a medical, vision, or dental emergency travel home due to a loss or illness of an immediate family member, unexpected damage to technology, or books, supplies, and coursework materials that exceed the $500 per semester allowance that is in your cost of attendance. in the academic year of 23-24, so last year, 87% of the requests were resolved within 5 days. And we had received over 1,000 requests, of which more than 1,000 were actually funded. Requests can get held up or take longer if a student does not provide the supporting documentation needed. And then supporting documentation needed, most of it is outlined right up front when you submit your request. Like, we need a receipt of if it was an expense that you're asking for reimbursement of. If it is something that is an anticipated expense, then it would be like, such as a treatment plan for an emergency dental situation, or an repair estimate if it's a technology request. Those are also outlined on the website. We also often have where a student does not respond to an email or request through the safety net application. Maybe something wasn't quite clear in the request for funding and we need more information. The sooner you respond to those as students, the sooner then we can carry forward your request in the evaluation process, or again, incomplete information. So what is covered? In detail, this is available to you on the Safety Net website, but a quick summary is that every student that is high need can have medical expenses up to $5,000 over the student's 4 years at Yale covered. So that would include vision care, including glasses or contacts once a year. We don't cover both, but glasses or contacts. Dental emergencies, which does not include your routine cleanings or x-rays, but you know, we've had situations where students were playing intramural sports and got a tooth knocked out and they would like to get that replaced, or all of a sudden their wisdom teeth are causing trouble and those need to be removed. Medical treatment copays, as long as the copay exceeds $30. You should probably include in your budget, you know, a doctor's appointment here or there each semester in case you get sick and you need to be seen. But sometimes those routine, I call it the New Haven bronchitis. It's a welcome gift to most of our first year students when winter hits. You know, you could have your doctor's copay, 2 or 3 prescription copays, and all of a sudden you're looking at $100 expense out of pocket. That may not be something that you can cover, and you could reach out to Safety Net. We cover emergency travel for the death or severe illness of an immediate family member. Technology repairs up to $1,000 during your 4 years at Yale. Only $500 of that can be used for liquid damage. So we encourage you to protect your laptop, kind of like as an extension of yourself, please. Use spill-proof cups, invest in the $10 cover for your keyboard so that no liquids can get into all the little nooks and crannies. If you have the ability to invest in a warranty for your laptop, we very much encourage you to do that. We're looking at the ability to reimburse technology warranties. That is still being finalized, but we'll be sending out communications through our website once it is final and we're able to get that moving forward. When it comes to books and course materials, we will cover the difference between the $500 allowance in your cost of attendance and the actual cost of your books and course materials. So when you're submitting for that request, you will need to submit copies of your syllabi and then also screenshots of what the cost will be. Safety Net will cover the difference for used materials, so used books. And then the winter clothing grant of $400. And we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Safety Net opens the first day of classes. It closes at winter break, so right when finals end. And then it reopens the first day of classes when students are returning to campus in January, and then closes during finals in the spring. Safety Net is not open for expenses that are incurred during winter break or during summer. So that's important to note. And then that leads us to the question of what will safety net not cover? Safety net doesn't cover phone repairs. Safety net does not cover the purchase of new technology. We don't cover medical copays that are below $30, or like I touched on before, glasses and contacts in the same year. Emergency travel due to the illness or death of friends or extended family. So family is defined on safety net as a parent, grandparent, sibling, or step of thereof, any of those. We don't cover off-campus living expenses. So if your roommate moves out and you are having to cover the full rent, that safety net will not cover that. A loss that should be covered by renters or travel insurance. So if you are traveling, like on study abroad, we encourage you to go ahead and spend the extra money when they offer you the travel and flight insurance. And all students, I know when you came to Yale, it's on the first year website that you are encouraged to have renters insurance to cover your personal belongings. Occasionally, our families are incurring hardships and students want to help. While it's wonderful that you are wanting to help your family members, safety net cannot cover additional expenses or costs for family members, or if you run out of money because you sent your refund to your family. If your books and supply costs are less than $500 per semester, we don't cover that. Summer storage is not included in safety net, or emergencies when you're traveling for leisure. Again, expenses that occur during winter and summer breaks are not covered by safety net. So the winter clothing grant, many of you who have a zero parent share and are a first year student this year will be receiving an email later today saying that you automatically qualify for the winter clothing grant. It is a $400 one-time grant while you are here at Yale, and you will receive it in your first year. You receive it automatically the last week of September, so you should have the refund by September 26th is the date this year. Please make sure, if you have not already, that you do set up direct deposit. It is the fastest and easiest way that safety net can get funding to you, and that we can get this winter clothing grant money to you if you qualify. Students with a parent share between $1,000 and $10,000 will apply through the safety net portal between October 1st and January 31st. This winter clothing grant, again, is one time, and it is available to first and second year students. And we do not require that you come back to us and show us how you spent the $400. The primary purpose of the winter clothing grant is that we want to make sure every student has a very good winter coat, that you have hat and gloves and a good set of boots. Now, if you can do that and then squeeze in a couple of pairs of jeans or a couple of sweaters all within your $400 grant, you know, great, more power to you. Please make it go as far as you can. Also keep in mind that warmth is very important. I was trying to figure out how to say that appropriately, right? So it's a big difference from if you come from a cold climate and you are jumping off the school bus or out of mom and dad's car and running to the front door of your school versus walking across Yale campus in winter when it's you know, negative 30 degrees and maybe snowing or windy. So you want to make sure that the coat that you select is big enough to have layers underneath, that maybe allows for a growth spurt, because it is a one-time grant. And if you come back your junior or senior year and say, my coat doesn't fit or any of these things, we cannot provide additional funding. Just a couple of miscellaneous points about safety net. Like I mentioned earlier, more information is available on the safety net website. Funding is not guaranteed. You do apply through the website. There it is right there. It's the finlit.yale.edu. The Finlit website is fantastic if you have not had a chance to look at it yet. It has a lot of information. If you can't make that budgeting seminar, there's information on budgeting on our Finlit website. So it's a great website, but you can also click on Safety Net and it will give you all of the information that you need to submit your request. It will ask for your parent share if you're wanting to know if you are eligible for a specific grant. You can find your parent share on your financial aid letter. It is also in Yale Hub under, I believe, Safety Net. If you are denied a request for whatever reason, we do direct students to other resources. So sometimes a student will be asking as a junior or senior to be able to attend a seminar or need travel expenses to cover for an interview for grad school. Those are not covered by Safety Net, but some of those expenses can be covered through career services, and we will direct you to the right place to ask for that funding. If it is not something that qualifies for Safety Net, we will always direct you to loan options, often back to your personal financial aid counselor to have that discussion. And if it is a case of needing just a loan or laptop while you figure out what needs to happen, either while your computer is being repaired or you need to borrow one until you can come up with the finances to purchase a new laptop, we do refer students back to STC for that. And then were there any questions?
Nothing's come in through the Q&A. I will note, if there are folks typing any questions out there, this is the first webinar of our Fridays with Financial Aid. We are looking to build this out as a program where we have at least one of these sessions every month. And our hope is to make them topics that are timely. So maybe looking at Yale summer session and ISA during January or February as students are starting to think about their plans for the summer. To talk about reapplying for financial aid in November before students head home for the break, because we would encourage students to start their renewal application maybe over winter break if they're at home. And yes, students do have to reapply for financial aid every year. So we'll be looking for application materials every year. So if you have any questions or any recommendations for topics that you think would be helpful to hear about from financial aid professionals here at Yale, we would encourage you. We'll be sending out a survey after today's webinar, and we'll ask you to give us any recommendations or topics that you would like to hear from us about. All right, so it looks like one of the questions that has come in, looks like it just got answered, is how do I know who my personal financial aid counselor is? And you can find that information on our website. So if you go to the financial aid website under there are two places. You can go to Meet the Team, and you can, next to each person, it lists what their part of the alphabet is. So it's alphabetical by your last name, or you can go to the appointments page on our website. So if you go to the financial aid website and you click on Contact Us and then scroll down a little bit, there's a Make an Appointment section. And it has a little table, and it'll tell you all of the Eli Whitney scholars, for example, are assigned to Alyssa Corvey, and are very familiar with Alyssa, I think. And then everyone, all of our international citizens are assigned to either Tracy or one of the Nicoles who works in our office. So it is alphabetical by citizenship and then your last name, with one exception, and that one exception is the Eli Whitney student community. So we would encourage you to check that out. Or if you don't know who they are and you want to know, you can swing by our office or you can email us and we'd be happy to tell you who it is as well. Any other questions? If not, we'll let you all have 20 minutes back. Thank you so much. We would request, so you'll be getting a follow-up email as an attendee from today. We would ask that that you complete the survey, give us feedback on our very first session, and also give us any recommendations that you have for future topics. So one of the questions just came in. We'll grab that before we log off. Can you explain the check process again? So I think this might be in reference to the refunds. Katie, do you want to touch on this?
So I guess I can touch on it in terms of if you have not set up a direct deposit, then when you request a refund, a paper check will be printed and it will be mailed to the mailing address that you have on file. So if you are an international student and you have not put a local mailing address, then your check, your refund check, will go to your home address in another country. So this is one of the reasons why, and even if you were located here in Connecticut, if you were a domestic student, that was your home address, it still delays the process of you getting your refund. So that is why we really encourage every student to set up a US-based bank account and then input that information under the student accounts section of Yale Hub so that you can authorize direct deposit. Then when you request a refund, it is transferred electronically and you will have it in your bank account within 3 to 5 business days. That also goes true for safety net funding. Obviously, if it's an unexpected or emergency expense that you need that money as quickly as possible. So being able to do that by a direct deposit is extremely important.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Any other questions? Looks like Tony is in the process of answering the last question that's out there, which has to do with refunds and taxes. And since Tony is the person on our team who works with all of our international student taxes, I'm just going to let her handle that one. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and close out. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much for being here today. And we look forward to seeing you again at a future webinar.
Bye. Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Bye-bye.